Female reproductive system. Female reproductive system consists of paired ovaries, fallopian tubes, the single uterus and vagina, and external genital structures. Okay, so here the female organs. What are the female organs we have? Ovaries, fallopian tubes, okay, and uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries. Paired ovaries and fallopian tubes. So we have paired, not single. Here we have the one ovary or one ovary, fallopian tubes are two, okay, and the single uterus, a single uterus, and one is and a vagina, and is external genital structures. Okay, egg or ova are produced in the ovaries and travel through the fallopian tubes of the uterus. The uterus is the site of growth of embryo or fetus. So basically, who produce egg? Ovaries produce egg and it will travel to the fallopian tubes. Then sperm and egg will combine together and it will form new cell, that is embryo or fetus. Okay, so this is the process of fertilization. Next, let's discuss about each and every organ, female reproductive organs. The ovaries are a pair of oval structures about 1.4 centimeter long on either side of the uterus in the pelvic cavity. The ovarian ligament extends from the medial side of an ovary to the uterine wall, and the broad ligament is fold of the peritoneum that covers the ovaries. These ligaments help keep the ovaries in place. So we have this ovaries. So basically they are connected with the ovarian ligament. Here we have, you can see this is the ovarian ligament which places the ovarian in their place. Okay, you can see this is the ovary. This is an oval shape, 4 centimeter. How much? 4 centimeters. This is the Fimbrian. Let's talk about everything. Here we have within an ovary are several hundred thousand primary follicles. In ovaries, we have primary follicles. Please remember all these things, very important. Okay, which are present at birth. So they are present at birth. During a woman's childbearing years, only 300 to 400 of these follicles will produce mature ova. As with sperm production in men, the supply of potential gametes far exceeds what is actually needed, but this helps ensure the continuation of the newer species. They are much, at the birth, there are thousands of primary follicles, but after birth, as women's age increases, child age increases, it will reach to 300 to 400. So it will produce mature ova. Okay, primary follicles, this remember name, and in the ovaries. Okay, each ovarian follicle contains an oocyte. So primary follicles and we have oocyte. In each ovary, we have primary follicles. Primary follicles contains oocyte, a potential ovum or egg cell. Surrounding the oocyte are the follicle cells, which secrete estrogen. Maturation of follicle require FSH and estrogen. Was described previous in the section of oogenesis. So here, FSH and estrogen is required. FSH and estrogen is required for oogenesis, the process of beginning of ova. Okay, the process of beginning of ova, we need FSH hormone, follicle stimulation hormone, and estrogen. Okay, so FSH is coming from the brain, pituitary gland. Okay. Immature follicles are also be called graphene follicles. So primary follicles, oocyte, and we need mature follicle. Okay. And the hormone LH from the anterior pituitary gland causes ovulation, that is rupture of mature follicle with release in the ovum. So LH, this is the process. Okay. Primary follicle, oocyte, mature follicle offers the release of egg from that place. So we need LH hormone. luteinizing hormone. So initially, FSH and estrogen for rupturing of the egg, we need LH hormone, luteinizing hormone, which is secreted by this is also secreted by pituitary gland. Okay, at this time, other developing follicles begin to deteriorate. These are called atteric follicles and have no further purpose. Under the influence of LH, the ruptured follicles become corpus luteum and begins to secrete progesterone as well as estrogen. Hormones produced in smaller amount by the corpus luteum are inhibiting and relaxing. So basically, here you have the process. Okay, after that, what will happen? After that, the release of ovum will happen, egg will happen. Okay, then after that, the whatever the follicles are, the ruptured follicles, they will become corpus callosum, corpus luteum, sorry, corpus luteum, and they will secrete, they will secrete estrogen and progesterone. They will secrete estrogen and progesterone in smaller amounts. So understood. Let's. This is the ovary, ovarian ligament, fimbrine, fundus of uterus. This is all this uterus. This is this is a fallopian tube. Okay, this is fallopian tube traveling of over. Here we have the okay. Here we have the ovaries, fallopian tubes, ovaries, fallopian tubes. This is the uterus. This is the ligaments. Okay, both side we have the and arteries, small arteries and veins are there here. This is the follicles here, primary follicles. Oogenesis will start with the help of FSH, estrogen, then mature cell will form and LH will do, or luteinizing hormone will rupture the follicle membrane and ovum will come out here. Okay, this is called corpus luteum. Corpus luteum will release estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so you have to remember all those things. Very important. Next, then the ovum will came to the fertilizing spot, that is fallopian tubes. Next, we'll talk about fallopian tubes. The two fallopian tubes, they are 10 centimeters long. Ovaries are 4 centimeters long, they're 10 centimeters. The lateral end of fallopian tube encloses an ovary and the medial end opens into the uterus. The end of the tube that encloses the ovary has fine fingers like projection that create currents in the fluid surrounding the ovary to pull the ovum into the fallopian tubes. Because the ovum has no means of self-locomotion, the structure of the fallopian tube ensures that the ovum will be kept moving toward the uterus. The smooth muscle layer of the tube contracts in peristaltic waves that help propel the ovum. The lining is extensively folded and is made up of ciliated epithelial tissue. The sweeping action of the cilia also moves the ovum towards the uterus. So basically, you can see that this is the fallopian tube. It has folded like structure and they have ciliated epithelium tissue and they are connected to the ovaries. One end is connected to the ovary, middle and one end, and another end is connected to the uterus. So very important. So fallopian tubes will help to enter the cell or ova into the fertilization area. So what will happen? They are grafts like that. So they will grasp. Okay. So here the fallopian hill very much required. Next, what will happen? Fertilization usually takes place in the fallopian tube. If not fertilized, in ovum dies within 44 to 58 hours and disintegrates either in the tube or the uterus. If fertilized, the ovum becomes a zygote and is swept up into the uterus. This take about 4 to 5 days in vitro fertilization. So here the ovum came, if the sperm came into the time 24 to 48 hours, so fertilization will begin. The baby will, the uterus, the fetus will start beginning. But if sperm doesn't came, so what will happen after 4 to 5 days? Sorry, after 24 to 48 hours, the ovum will die. Okay, ovum will die and disintegrates will happen. Okay. Sometimes the zygote will not reach the uterus but will still continue to develop. This is called ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic means in an abnormal site, the developing embryo may become implanted in the fallopian tube, the ovary itself, or even elsewhere in the abdominal cavity. An ectopic pregnancy usually does not progress very long because these other sites are not specialized to provide a placenta or to expand to accommodate the growth of a fetus. As the uterus is the spontaneous termination of an ectopic pregnancy is usually the result of bleeding in the mother, and surgery may be necessary to prevent maternal death from circulatory shock. Occasionally, an ectopic pregnancy does go to full term and produce a healthy baby, such as an event is credit to the adaptability of the human body and to advances of medical science. So here, this is the beautiful thing. Sometimes what will happen, the ovum will not reach here, will they only, then the pregnancy will get positive. So what will happen? Or the it will enter into the abdominal cavity. Okay. So it will begin, but initially it will begin, but later what will happen? It will cause circulatory shock to the mother, and mother will have the problems. What will happen? The doctor will diagnose that, and they will remove uh, the ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic pregnancy means abnormal pregnancy. So they are the most least cases for that ectopic pregnancy will have such healthy baby, but sometimes it will happen, sometimes most of the times it doesn't happen. So this is the cause. The ovum enters will meet at abnormal area where the placenta covering of the baby and all the arteries, veins will have the connectivity. Okay. So basically it will not happen there. So that's the reason the ectopic pregnancy is very risky. Okay. So here we discussed about ovaries, fallopian tubes. Now we'll discuss about uterus. Uterus is a shape like an upside down pear, about 3 inches long by 2 inches wide by 1 inch depth. So it is 7 centimeter long, 5 centimeter width, and 2.5 centimeter in deep. Okay, superior to the urinary bladder and between the two ovaries in the pelvic cavity. So it have urinary bladder in the below. We have uterus in the lower side. It have the excretory system. Mhm. Okay, so basically these are the three things one by one we have. Okay, so the broad ligament also covers the uterus. During pregnancy, the uterus increases gravity greatly in size, contains the placenta to nourishing the embryo fetus and expel the baby at the end of the gestation. So it have placenta covering of the baby that will happen in the placenta, and growth of the baby will happen. Nutrition will get in, oxygen will get in through the placenta. So basically, after the at the end of the delivery, the placenta is utilized, and after that, it expels the baby out. The parts and the layers of the uterus are shown. The fundus, so you can see here we have this is the uterus. This is the body of the uterus. This is the endometrium. This is the myometrium. Okay. This is the uterus body, fundus of uterus. This is the body, endometrium, myometrium. Okay, this is the cervix region. Okay, so cervix, the whole is uterus. The parts and the layers. The fundus is the upper portion of the body, portion above the end of the fallopian tubes. And the body is the last central portion, the narrow lower end of the uterus is the cervix. Already we know. The outmost layer of the uterus, the serasa or epimetrium, is a fold of peritoneum. The myometrium is the smooth muscle layer. During pregnancy, these cells increase in size to accommodate the growing fetus and contract for labor and delivery at the end of pregnancy. The lining of the uterus is endometrium, okay, which it consists of two layers, the basilar layer and the functional layer. On those, if fertilization does not occur, the functional layers loss of in menstruation during pregnancy, the endometrium forms the maternal portion of the placenta. So what will happen? This is the these layers, endometrium. Here we have the endometrium. This is the endometrium. We have the functional layer and another layer is basilar layer. Basilar layer have large number of arteries and veins. They are the permanent layer. And the functional layer, it will change. It will change during menstrual cyclation. Who will help estrogen and progesterone? Okay, so what will happen? The contraction will happen to remove the functional layer. Okay, so during that process, what will have the basilar layer have large number of arteries and veins. They also rupture to solve along what will happen? The blood will come. Okay, so the release of dead cells, ovum, and to release of the functional layer because it was utilizing. If you utilize it, the functional layer will still there. So what we are doing, we are not using the functional layer. So what we will do, body endometrium will do contraction to release the functional layer. So during that process, the basilar layer also have great supply of the arteries and veins. They also rupture, so small amount of blood will also come during this process. So the layer, the ovum, and along with that, we have the functional layer will come in this menstrual cycle. Okay, understood. Now we will talk about the another female organ that is vagina. Then next to have external genitals. Next we have menstrual cycle also is there. So let's talk about the vagina is a muscular tube about 4 inches. This is also 10 centimeters long that extend from the cervix to the vaginal orifice in the perineum. It is a posterior to the urethra and anterior to the rectum. The vaginal opening is the posterior to the urethra and anterior to the rectum. So it is in between that. The vaginal opening is usually partially covered by a thin membrane called hymen, which is ruptured by the first sexual intercourse or by the use of tampons during the menstrual period. So the covering of cervix is the thin membrane that is hymen. Okay, during the menstrual period or sexual course, so hymen is will break. Okay, the functions of the vagina are to receive sperm from the penis during sexual intercourse to provide the exit of menstrual blood flow and to become the birth canal at the end of pregnancy. So there are the two functions of vagina, that is to begin the process of fertilization or to release the dead cells from the urethra. Okay, from the ureters. Sorry. Okay. The vaginal mucosa after puberty is stratified squamous epithelia, which is relatively resistant to pathogens. The normal flora of the vagina creates an pH that helps inhibit the growth of pathogen. Basically, in the vagina, we have the pH level is low because there are excess of hydrogen molecules. Because to prevent the entry of pathogens, to maintain the acidic nature in the vagina. Okay, so this is very important. So the completed vision and other things related to the female organs, external genitals. The female external genital structure is also called vulva and includes the clitoris, labia majora, and minora, and the Bartholin glands. The clitoris is a small mass of erectile tissue anterior to the uterine orifice. The only function of the clitoris is a sensory. It responds to sexual stimulation and its vascular sinus become filled with blood. The mons pubis is a pad of fat over the pubic symphysis covered with skin and pubic hair, extending posterior from the mons and the labia majora and labia minora, which are paid folds of skin. The area between the labia minora is called the vestibule and contains the opening of the urethra and vagina. The labia covers this opening and prevent drying of the mucous membranes. Bartholin's glands are called vestibular glands are within the floor of the vestibule. The ducts open into the mucosa at the vaginal orifice. The secretion of the glands keep the mucosa moist and lubricates during sexual intercourse. Okay, so these are the functions of other external organs. We have that here we have the Bartholin glands which release mucus. Okay, and other things here we have you can see that we can have mons pubis, clitoris, okay, hymen. Okay, everything is there. So basically, we discuss about female reproductive system. Next, we have mammary glands and the menstrual cycle. So we'll discuss tomorrow. If any doubts, please go through that. And we have the hormones which are affecting female reproductive system. Today in the menstrual cycle, we will talk in detail. Okay.